Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing very, very well. As the title says, living life like a monk and being a mother to 3 children and a woman who doesn't have many desires in life and is an extreme minimalist. Now, you might be confused how I live life like a monk, yet I am a mother as well. But I'm going to explain that. You don't necessarily have to be in a monastery to be a monk. You can, of course, live life like a monk in the ordinary life. And that's what I've chosen to do. And the question, I guess, is why do I live life like a monk? I mean, I could just choose to live in a sort of pleasurable, comfortable, mainstream, socially acceptable way, but I obviously don't. And that's because the real me, the true me, gravitates so much towards Buddhism and the monk lifestyle. And over the years I've discovered that, and I realized that's where I thrive. I naturally have always been like this. It just took me a while to understand that this is the path I should really go down, rather than trying to fit in with society and having this kind of thing in me that's not sitting right. I'll explain that. So you guys, since I was a young girl, I never felt like I fitted in. Okay, and I still feel like that. And I can't remember the last time I felt like I fitted in, except when I'm in nature and living life like a monk, weirdly. But I remember when I was 13, I used to sit in my bedroom and meditate. Nobody told me to meditate. Nobody taught me how to meditate. I somehow came across it, and I remember locking that door and practicing for so many days, which is quite unusual at that age, especially when you're growing up in such a westernized society. And then also at that age, I remember looking up all the time on Google how to be a good person several times and follow kind of what certain writers would say. And it was interesting that I did that. And I remember spending a lot of time talking to birds out in the garden or praying to God, even though I wasn't religious, if that makes sense. I just knew there was something, and I was always praying and talking throughout the day. It wasn't like it was this specific structure of praying. It was just sort of like having a conversation in my head with the creator, if that's what you want to call it, or the universe. And I think as I grew older, I obviously lost certain bits of that because I was trying to fit in with society. And that was, I'm not going to say it's a mistake, but it pulled me in a direction that was just not going to go anywhere except for depression, anxiety, and just sort of a mind downer, if that makes sense. And that very much happened, and hence 5 years ago you guys saw me put up a video about social anxiety. But over the years I realized that wasn't social anxiety. It was anxiety from not being able to thrive in an environment that I felt like I could be myself. And I was always surrounded by the wrong crowd, the wrong people where their idea of fun was so different to mine. And it looked more like, having alcohol and being tipsy and sort of just sitting there and gossiping and keeping up with the latest trends and fashion, and that wasn't me. And even though I tried to do it, I felt like I was just going against everything inside of my body. And my idea of fun is just something that was never considered normal. So I felt like I couldn't ever really have fun, and that idea of fun looked like just sitting in nature or sitting in silence, or just observing people and animals and listening to the simple sounds bird sounds or the wind sounds, or just observing the cloud patterns, or just looking at the sunrise, and if I felt like I couldn't do this as I grew up. I felt like people would think I'm boring, they didn't want to do it, and so I was so stuck. And after I hit my early 20s, that's when I realized enough is enough. Like, I'm gonna have to do all this on my own, and that was the best thing I did in my life, because I discovered myself, and I felt like I finally could feel things that I kind of bottled inside of me that were just like wanting to come out, but I was just in the wrong place, wrong time zone as well. Not time zone, sorry, time period. Like, sometimes I felt like this is too modern for me. Like, I felt like I want to go back in time. I've actually cried a lot over the fact that things have changed so much in the last 20 years in terms of technology, and how everything's so convenient, and how everything's just so fast-paced and comfortable, and there's something missing in the way things are going. And after going really deep into it, thinking about it, I realized it's the human experience that's missing. And I was like, just because the world's going down that way of taking that human experience away, and sort of technology bombarding our lives, and the screen time, and social media, and everything's online, I was like, I don't have to do that just because the world's going down that way. So I've reached a stage now where I'm fine with being that person, that me, the true me, which is such a natural person's, the old school ways, and I'm a kind of like a monk at heart, if that makes sense. So this is the reason why I live life like a monk, because out of everything that I've come across in this world, it is the only thing that I feel like heading towards, like gravitating towards. And I'm not going to let anything bring me down. I'm going to head that way. And it's definitely going to be different to the mainstream. And I've slowly started sharing it on YouTube, and it's going well. I think there's a lot of people actually out there like me, and I see that in the comments. I think people also feel like they sometimes can't do those things or can't be like that, but I want to be that person on YouTube who wants to speak about it, speak about this, where that kind of feeling like an outsider, that's exactly the word, how I've been feeling all my life in society, near society. I've felt like an outsider, an outlier, and an alien. And I don't want to feel like that anymore. Yeah. You guys, I think the mind of a monk is incredible, and there is so much to learn from Buddhist monks. I think there's a lot that you can really learn, and that will help and seep into daily life. Not from a religious point of view. I'm talking more from sort of a way of life, and bringing peace into your life and looking inwards is something I found incredible with Buddhism, and I gravitate towards it so much. And I feel like so many of my ways are so in line with Buddhism. It's so interesting, but just know that I'm not a Buddhist or religious, okay? So it's just a way of living, and I know many people gravitate towards Buddhism because there is something about it that has so much truth. And yeah, so I am training my mind. That's all I'm doing every day, training my mind and making it stronger and more powerful, because I know as human beings we are capable of so much more than sitting on our butts and looking at a screen. We are capable of so much. We are I sometimes think of the human brain as magic. There's so much we can do, and I think it's, yeah. So that's what I'm all about, you guys. That's what I'm all about, training the mind, and extreme minimalism ties into this way of living. It gels, if that makes sense. Like the way a monk lives, it involves being a minimalist. It's just like, it just works. Do you know what I mean? So it's funny that I'm naturally an extreme minimalist, and how monks are like that too. So now, some glimpses of motherhood. Chicka boom boom, chicka chicka boom, chicka chicka boom boom, chicka boom, chicka chicka boom boom. What is it?
Don't sing like that.
High five. Yeah. Come.
Don't give home.
No. How are you?
Can I hug you?
Do you want breakfast?
No, that's not my noise.
How are you doing? You okay? How are you doing? You're hungry. Then I'm just getting those water.
Oh, you hear my bottle?
Yeah, I'm putting some soap on you guys because it needs to be clean.
Are you wiping my bottle?
Yeah.
I put my soap on my body. I'm going to go up here a second, eh? I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go up here, When you do this up, when you do